So, we have two accounts of the ascension. So let's basically talk about what is the ascension first. So, a lot of people say the ascension is simply when Jesus all of a sudden magically lifts up and floats away and disappears into heaven, into the sky. And some people say that's it. But it's so much more than that. For his disciples, primarily, it is the first time in all the years they've been together that Jesus will depart from them and not return. And he made it very clear that he was no longer going to be there to hold their little hands and to reassure them in the flesh any longer. It's a joyous time, yet it's a time of mourning for them. We have two different accounts, both which are say they're written by Luke, but we don't know who really wrote these accounts. First account is from Acts, second account is from the Gospel of Luke, and the second account says after Jesus ascended, they went into Jerusalem and talked about how joyous this was, and they were in the synagogue all the time praising God, and it was such a joyous thing. But if you look at Acts, it said that they were just standing there, staring up at the sky, probably thought that they were going to come back. He was going to come back. Two messengers come down. You can call them angels. You can call them men, women, whatever you want to call them. Two beings come down and tell them, what you doing? Why are you staring up into the sky? Jesus is not in the sky. Jesus is in heaven. So it brings a whole other little twist too. For so many people, and for these people in general, the world was still flat. And heaven was above it, and hell was below it. And they lived all in the middle on this little flat piece of land that if you walked too far, you'd fall off. And some believed that you'd fall into hell. So if you looked for hell, you went to the outskirts town to look for hell. Just so happened that in their area, if you went to the outskirts of town, you found a big desert that was very hot. So they might have thought that they fell into hell. But we know very differently that the earth is round, and that at the core is really all of the energy of the earth. That at the core is not necessarily hell. That heaven is not in some, other galaxy. We know there's galaxies beyond. So we have to start thinking of it a little differently. And of course, a lot of us here realize that there are other realms. So we have an earthly realm and we have a spiritual realm. And we talked before about how the spiritual, where God resides, is light. God is this source of light and energy in which everything is pulled from. So what I often tell you is that Jesus, God in flesh, ascends in the physical because that's where they thought heaven was. He could have very well just vanished. We don't know that for sure. To them, they needed to write that he ascends and he goes into heaven, and he is now, we say, seated at the right hand of God. But to us, that means he ascends and he becomes, once again, part of that large source of light and energy. He is reabsorbed back into it, and he stands there in all of his glory and is reabsorbed into this. And later, next week we'll talk a little bit more, the Spirit will come and be a guide for his disciples. And the church will be born. So next week we're going to celebrate what we call the birthday of the church, Pentecost. It's when, because Jesus told them, you will get this energy that will be sent to you, and it will make you want to move and go out and do the work. So right now they're just kind of in limbo. And for some of them, they're still standing there waiting and seeing. But they say, don't look for him in the sky. He is in heaven. And we said that where is God for us? It's within. So we need to look within us. So I don't want to get too much on what we're supposed to do as Christians, what we're supposed to do as human beings, that God is within us, because that talks a little bit more about next week when we're going to talk about mission work. And that's when the church begins and has to go out and do the mission work. Today we're going to talk about just the loss and feeling disconnected, and why was it important for Jesus to leave? What was so important about that? Why couldn't God just stay amongst us in the flesh? Wouldn't the world eventually get it if God stayed? You know, there's some physical being that everybody can run to and ask. You can physically ask him questions. But if we've been listening all Lent and all Easter, he never answers those damn questions anyway. He always gives you small little snippets and you have to figure it out all on your own. But you're not going to do it until he's not here anymore. So many of us, we don't go out on our own and make our own decisions until we ain't living in mama's house no more, right? As long as you're living in mama's house, you can always come home, bank account's a little dry. Ain't got no gas. You don't happen to have $20. Now that my mama living in Texas, they ain't no going run and get no $20, right? There's some separation time, but it's a good thing. It makes you stand on your own 2 feet. Sometimes we lose people that are very close to us, and we mourn them for a very long time, but if we really examine it, we grow stronger because of it. Maybe they were a burden to us. We hate to say it. Maybe they took up a lot of our time because they got very ill and we had to take care of them for a long time. And they go, and not only do you've done good, but that burden's lifted off of you, and it's a good thing. You're free now to do other things, like have grandbabies and have all your time for your grandbabies. But it's also good as a teacher. I feel it even this week. I think having Ascension on this particular Sunday, the very Sunday after all of us have released our children into the wild world of summer, we can't be there. I work in a school that I feel like my kids need me to reassure them that they are loved, that they are good, that they have people that care about them. I love that we can feed them for free, 2 meals a day. But what happens to them when they leave us? And for 2 months, they have to fend for themselves. It scares the hell out of me. I don't know what they're going to do. They're my babies. But it's good that they go. I need the rest. They need the rest. They need to go out and realize how good it is in the confines of that school, how carefree it really is to go to school every day and to have a routine. They come back in August and they're excited to be back in school because they have structure again, they have food again, they have people that care and love on them again. And so we needed Jesus to go. The church could have never grown if Jesus stayed. And so even though there is a separation anxiety going on right now with the disciples, in a little while they're going to figure it out. It's a good thing. We can do this. And we've been doing it for over 2,000 years. This denomination, I don't know if, in our belief, we don't know if God's coming back. We don't know that for sure. A lot of people go by the Nicene Creed and they say, we await the return of Jesus. I think we missed him. He might have come back and we didn't see him. He might have come back as a woman, and we know we missed that, because nobody's looking for Messiah in a woman. he might not ever come back. He might have never said he was coming back. That might have been just the hope of his apostles, his disciples, saying, oh, I'm waiting him to come back. He's got to come back. We can't do it by ourselves. And we've taken that into a bigger thing. Travis and I have been talking all week about, if you read the passages, it seems like the ascension is just this little event that happens, right? He just floats on away and then it's over. When I was growing up, man, they made it a big deal. You know, a cloud comes down and hovers around Jesus and lights are off and Jesus is floating away, and they make this huge deal out of it. You know, and then these angels come down and don't look for God in the heavens, look for God in your heart. Not really what happened, according to the scriptures. He could have just vanished before them, blessing them as he goes. And basically saying, yon, yon, I'm going to send you some energy to help you along the way, but that's it. That's all you got. You got to figure it out. And I know we all have that experience, you know, the sink or swim, you know. Thank God my parents did not throw me into a pool and say sink or swim, because I would have sank. But so many times we just have to do that, right? You know, here I am, Bishop. He threw me out and said, good luck. That happens, you know. That's how I became a teacher. He threw me into a classroom as a substitute teacher and said, good luck. It's just how things happen, and that's the same thing we go through even our spirituality. Kind of get thrown out there as an adult and say, good luck. Hope your parents taught you a little bit. We learned they taught us nothing. We're left all by ourselves again. But these separation times are good. Go back and look at your prayer cards from, if you haven't lost them yet, the Good Shepherd cards. Talks about the comfort during mourning, and that death is a good thing. Death of anything, so any kind of ending is a death to something, right? Even if it's a good ending, you know. You're not happy in a job, and so you leave the job. It was a good death, a death to that part, that chapter in your life. It's a good thing to separate. It hurts. You will mourn it. You know, we didn't have kids on Friday. I walked into my classroom. I told myself I was not going to walk into my classroom. I forgot something. I had to go in and get it. It was so empty and so bare. And it pulled at me. Didn't think it would, but it did. It's the first year that I know that I'm returning there. So this is my first time. I know for sure I'm coming back. So to know that once again my room's going to be filled with a whole new set of students, a whole new set of challenges and experiences. But at the same time, I'm exhausted, but yet ready. But to know it's going to sit empty for 2 months, and that the energy that I built up in it is going to have to be rebuilt and remolded and developed again. And we do that every time something happens, you know. But it's that whole feeling too when you go on vacation, you love your vacation, right? You come home, boy, you happen to be at the house. If you remember to clean your house before you left house. But it's such a good feeling to come home. If you ever come home and you'd rather have been on vacation, you might want to think about a new house, or a new place. It's not home yet. We've done that. So, but separation's good. So separation from people, getting out, going on retreats by yourself, away from your spouse, having separate hobbies, doing different things. It's all very good things, as long as it makes you realize what you have, what you need. And so that's what this day is all about. It's a separation from God, a final separation of the physical. We no longer have God in physical form. We're on our own. We have to hope God hears us, hope God is sending us the things that we need, and you just kind of live on that hope, and hope that there's some kind of force that's molding everyone else too. So know that separation is not a bad thing all the time, and that we have to have it to realize what we have, what we need. So go through this week and think about the times in your life that separation has been a wonderful thing for you, and recall what it's made you aware of. And then come back for Pentecost, and we're going to celebrate the birth of the church and the revitalization of our mission.